So the question we would probably have to ask is what would be the challenges of Merkel as the leader of the government on the fourth term?
Well, I think first of all we have to suppose, but I agree with you, the most probable outcome of these elections will be another mandate of Angela Merkel as Chancellor. It will to a certain extent depend on with which partner she will actually be in a coalition, but I think even if we see the whole range of potential coalition partners, the Social Democrats, the Liberals, the Greens, I think this will not mean any fundamental change, especially in German foreign policy with regard to Germany's role in the world. The challenges are obvious. I think there is the Brexit negotiation that goes along with the reform of the European Union. I think the German government has declared, together with the other partners, that we have to learn from the Brexit process. We have to think about how better foster integration, how better develop the European Union to more integration on the one side and less integration on the other side, where there is no need to have a European super state. So the reform of the European Union, Brexit, will certainly be a major challenge. Apart from that, we have a lot of challenging issues around. Think about the Ukraine, think about the Middle East, the transatlantic relations that are not at best at this moment with the new American government. So there are a lot of challenges out there, but I think what will certainly not change, Germany will continue to be a strong advocate of a rules-based international order, of a rules-based international economic order and political order. So I think we can expect that these elections will not bring a fundamental change of German foreign policy, Germany as a responsible power within the European Union and within the international community.
Can I ask what does it say about German citizens that have the same leader for the fourth term? That they elect the same leader for the fourth term?
Well, we already had that. I think if you remember Helmut Kohl, he also was Chancellor for almost 16 years. He also had 4 mandates. This is inbound in our electoral system that there is no limit to a chancellorship as long as the person is elected and has the support, as long as the people support these persons. But you're right. I think I wrote in the newspaper the other day a journalist who said actually Germans who are about 20 years old today have never known any other, or might not remember any other leader than Angela Merkel, who leads Germany since 12. So if they're 20 today, at that time they have been 8 years old. So they probably only might remember that the German Chancellor is Angela Merkel and nobody else. But this is democracy. As long as she is elected and she has the support of the majority of the people, and then as Germany is an indirect democracy of the majority of the members of the parliament, she will continue to be the Chancellor of the German Republic. And looking to the past 12 years, I think she has the best chances to be Chancellor again, also because a lot of many people trust her leadership. This is what I'm reading in the polls.
Okay. So Germany, considered a powerhouse of Europe. Would there be any reform of European Union when there is a news or speculation that it might happen?
Look, given what the polls make us expect, it might either be a grand coalition or a coalition with other smaller parties. These are factually the options.
There won't be one party government.
So I think this. Well, you never know before the polls. But if we look to what has been said in the different polls throughout the last week, I think the biggest party, the Christian Democrats, will be at around 40%. So they will need a coalition partner, one or even two, if they do a coalition with smaller parties. We will see at 11 o'clock what the results are and how many options for coalitions are there. But I think for all the existing potential possible coalitions, they're all pro-European parties, so I don't expect the German approach to the European Union to change. There are only the extremist parties that have different approach to the European parties. You know, the extreme right that comes on a program anti-European, anti-immigration, but everybody, the Chancellor's Party, the Social Democrat candidates party, they all have declared that they would not get in any coalition with this party. So all parties that with due expectation are expected to be part of a future government are clearly pro-European party. This is a very large consensus in the German political spectrum. So I think the German policy towards Europe will not change. And if you have asked about the German powerhouse, I always like to remember that very renowned politicians from all sides of the political spectrum have agreed to a sentence that said that what we need is a European Germany, not a German Europe. So I think Germany is very well aware that being the biggest country and the strongest, economically strongest party, it is important not to dominate. It is important to always remember the principle that we are a union of 28 countries and that every country has one voice and that we always need a majority, and on many issues we need consensus.
Do we expect any change in terms of foreign policy or any new initiative? We talk about relationship between Germany and Thailand.
Yeah, no, I think in foreign policy especially has always been a huge consensus within all sides. I think even if you look back to the Social Democratic Green Coalition, now the Grand Coalition, in between there has been the Christian Democrats with the Liberal Party. I think throughout all those governments there have been no major changes in the foreign policy. I think the basic foreign policy lines of the German politics are a very large consensus, obviously on the background of a very specific history. You have seen that Germany has much stronger reacted to upcoming nationalism in various parts of Europe, including Germany, than any other country. I think we are particularly sensitive to this. We are particularly sensitive to not dominating, but being a constructive member of the international, of the UN family and community, taking our share of responsibility, and Germany, being a strong country, is prepared to take a bigger share in peacekeeping mission, in UN missions, but also always within a rules-based international United Nations framework. This is the fundamental principle, and this is not put into question from any of the parties who are subject, who might enter a future coalition of Germany. And this also applies to our bilateral relations with Thailand. We have a very long-lasting, very good relationship. This is flourishing in all aspects, economically, culturally, and so on. We do have some restrictions that you well know due to the fact that Thailand is since the coup in 2014 still under a military government. This, of course, is putting some problem to us. We have made it clear that we would very much like to see Thailand come back to democracy. But this does not mean that we are not cooperating with Thailand. We are cooperating with Thailand very well in a lot of spheres, including the international sphere, even international fora in United Nations. And we are very supportive of the government in anything they bring the country closer and back to a stable electoral democracy.
Somehow it made me feel that when you think of Germany, you think of something instructive, constructive, stability, and security.
Well, this is what we have experienced throughout the last more than 70 years, and I think this is the message that can come from us, from Germany and from Europe. I think Europe has learned its lesson from terrible wars and destruction, in particular Germany, who bears a big responsibility, especially for the Second World War, for the worst atrocities that have happened. And I think the unification of Europe, the sitting together of long-time enemies like Germany and France, becoming partners and building up this union. I think this can be an example for other areas that see that there is not such a thing of eternal animosity. You can overcome any historical or whatever animosity, and you can build a common future, like I think the European countries, above all Germany and France, later on of course Germany and Poland. I think this is a fantastic example. We have lived in Europe, and we are actually living in Europe the longest period ever of peace, of stability and of prosperity. And this is what we are trying to preserve, to conserve within Europe, but we also try to keep in our memory and transport also to others this message. And we have learned it with the recent upcoming of nationalism, even within Europe, that you should never take things for granted, because the younger people who are living in Europe today, they don't know, they don't remember, they don't have the same memory.
Right.
And it's easy to say, well, what have we to do with all this? And we have to remind that history is there to learn lessons about it. And only if we transport the lessons, we can avoid future generations to do the same mistakes again.
Okay.
And we hope that we can do this.
Thank you very much for your time.
It's a pleasure. So we're looking forward to the elections at 11.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Margaret.